Well, welcome. You are now listening or perhaps watching the Spark Your Creative podcast, and I am your host, Sharon Burton of Spark Your Creative Coaching. And I am continuing the series based on my book, Creative Sparks 21 Affirmations and Inspiration for Creativity at Midlife. And this has been a labor of love for me to write the book, but also to share a lot of the content of it. And again, the book is about really giving those of us at midlife and beyond the inspiration and the motivation to engage and launch a creative life. The book has 21 affirmations, well, actually 22 affirmations. There's a bonus chapter in the book, and it covers everything from grief to incorporating creativity in your life to the topic that we're going to talk about today, which is affirmation 19, or what would be considered chapter 19. And that is my creative community supports me. A lot of books on creativity and all that kind of stuff touches a little bit on this topic, but I think it's important, and particularly in today's time. I have valued my creative community, those that are fans of my art, as well as my peers that are in the creative fields. And I think, particularly ever since COVID and the pandemic, we've been needing to really look at our community and those peers that we have and really take advantage of the fact that, you know, we need to connect with other people. We need support for our work, and we need to support others. We're living in what many call unprecedented times.
Mhm.
So this is really important, and I wanted to include that in the book. And so I'm going to read a little bit from that, and then I will have my special guest that's with me today,
Mhm.
uh, who is one of the contributors of the book. As you know, I've been including a lot of the artists and creatives that contributed to the book to talk more about their thoughts on some of these topics. And I think it's been a wonderful collaboration with some really special people that have been involved with the book. So I'm reading from Affirmation 19, My Creative Community Supports Me. And if you have the book, it is located on page 137. During these uncertain times, we need to think through strategies to not only encourage and support our creative practice, but also for mental and emotional support. A creative community can be the answer for both. I define a creative community as more than just a creative membership organization, which it can be, but a group of artists, writers, or other creative people who meet on a regular basis to exchange ideas, provide critique of work, if appropriate, share new work or ideas, socialize, celebrate wins, and well create a sense of community. It may be organic as a group of friends or a writing pod, or more formal like a membership organization. They may meet in person or online. They may be as many as three people or as large as hundreds or thousands. They may be formed around a specific creative practice or may include people with multiple passions and interests. They may be formal or informal, but they serve as a resource and support to members and their creativity. So, I have invited a colleague and friend who contributed to the book, Colie Aziza. Hello, Colie.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Sharon.
Thank you for being a part. Colie is a singer, songwriter, poet, and an author. She's a multi passionate creative, much like myself. And I wanted to give her an opportunity to just share a little bit about herself and then talk about, this topic with her. So share with us
Okay.
a little bit about yourself
Mhm.
and all the things that you do and that sort of thing.
Well, first off, let me say that I loved that the verbiage you use, multi-passionate
Yes.
artist. I love that. I haven't heard that. That's
Oh,
really, really
okay.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And also, I just want to say how proud I am of you for this sort of baby, this creative, this creative endeavor that you decided that you were going to get done and give birth to it. And it's really a lovely um, uh, piece of work. And I just want to just say thank you for doing it for artists and for folks who, because I believe that we all have that in us. We're all creatives in some way. Some of us are just that's sort of like our, like you said, our passion. But we all have some creativity, and we all can be creative in some way. So I just want to thank you for releasing this work.
I accept. Thank you.
And so you asked me to tell about myself. So again, I'm Colie Aziza, and it's wonderful to be in front of all of you sharing about myself. I started in this journey as an artist, as a vocalist, studying voice. I always loved to sing as a child, but I was very shy. And it was my family that heard me and really encouraged me to pursue it. My father was a singer. He sang with a doo-wop group and actually had some tunes out. He was with a group called the Placards. But eventually the group broke up. But my dad and my mom actually always encouraged me to sing. And so I went on and majored in voice in high school. I went to the High School of Music and Art in Harlem, which is the famed school. And it's actually, we had music and art in Harlem and the performing arts, which they were the same school. We had the same principal, but we were in different buildings because you could major in different things at the schools. And so the performing arts was down closer to Broadway. And so eventually the school came under one building. So now the children or the young people that go to performing arts in New York are all in one building. So I did that, and that opens up a whole new world for me. I left the neighborhood. I grew up in the Bronx, and so left the neighborhood every day and went to Harlem. And you talk about creative community. That was my first experience with the creative community because all of us were creatives. So the young people that lived in my neighborhood, who I traveled with to Harlem, it took us like an hour every morning and an hour in the evening. We all were creatives in some way, either visual artists or folks that sang or played an instrument. And so we all traveled together. Even some of the young people that went to performing arts would ride the bus with us, but then we would go separate ways. So they were dancers, they were actors. And so that was the beginning of understanding what a creative community was like. We would sing on the train and, just like you see, I don't know if they show that in Fame, but, singing at lunchtime and, dancing. We didn't dance so much at my school, but you know what I'm saying? it was all of that. We had folks that became hip hop artists. I went to school with Slick Rick, Dana Dane. Yes, I went to
Oh,
school with those
wow.
folks.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that as long as I've known you.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
not
So
know that.
yeah,
Oh,
and so they were rapping in school, at lunchtime or at study hall, and they went on to pursue that and became well known, and they did very well. So that was the beginning for me of my creative walk. But I always sort of love to perform besides once I got over my shyness, but in the house, with my family or with my sister and my cousins, we always used to enjoy acting. And my sister and I used to play church, and yeah. So one person was the preacher, people the other people were the parishioners, and we were hallelujah, so we we used to get into all of that. I remember us listening to Tina Turner when she came out with What's Love Got to Do with It. And we got out our little heels and our jean jackets, and so I always loved to act. And so when I had the opportunity to then branch out and do musical theater at my high school, I really got into that. So then realized I had the, caught the acting bug. So I love to act. I love to sing. I always loved poetry as well, but didn't always write things down. I would think things, you see something, as a poet, you see something that then gets you sort of, you begin to write these stories, right? And when you see something, and so then I started writing stuff down. And then I was like, well, I'm a poet, but I'm kind of just a poet, to myself. I'll keep that for myself once I actually started going out there and performing. And then the more I wrote stuff down, I was like, I need to share this, but I'm a little scared. I'm shy, still shy, even though I sing and act. And then a friend of mine said, well, since you're not afraid to sing, why don't you incorporate the poetry when you sing in front of folks? So then I started doing that. And that's been more recent. I would say maybe in the last 5 years, I started incorporating the poetry in there. And eventually I think I may come. My sister keeps telling me you need to, come out with a poetry book because you've written a lot. And so you need to just go ahead and do that. I don't always lead with that, but the more, sometimes I read something that I wrote the other day, had put it was in my phone. And I was like, who wrote this? And I was like, it was me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't always, kind of, I'm beginning to embrace that I am a poet. It was actually the poetry that I would write that I began to turn into songs. And this year I've committed to writing some more music. I'm going to collaborate with some folks who I think are better songwriters than me, but I have written songs. But I want to collaborate with them to really come up with some new tunes and actually record them in 2025. That's a commitment that I've made to myself. And then the children's book, I consider myself a children's author because I really understand children, because I actually was a musical theater major in college and then switched to education because I love my mother dearly, but she was a more practical woman. And my dad had passed away. Well, he didn't my first year in school when I was a musical theater major, because he really wanted me to go on and pursue that. But my mom was like, it's not like I don't want you to do it, but how are you going to pay your bills? So my dad passed away. And then I had my mother in my ear still like, how are you going to pay your bills? And so I said, okay, well, I'll change my major. What else do I want to do? So this really wasn't a plan B. It was like, what else would I ever want to do besides perform? And I was like, I've always wanted to help people. I enjoy working with people and just supporting folks in their journey to be the best that they can be. So I said, it's either going to be social work or education. And then I said, if it's education, it's got to be more specific. I don't want to just go into general ed. I want it to be something that's more specific. And I decided on special education. So I went into special education and then wound up really focusing on early childhood special education, because I realized how much I really enjoy young children because they are so creative and so open. It's before, even though I was shy when I was a little girl, a lot of children at that age are they're just themselves. They haven't been jaded, all those insecurities haven't come in, those insecurities. And so I really, really enjoyed working in early childhood. So I've done early childhood, both students who have been identified with needs and students who have not. And so that's my specialty area, special education and early childhood. And while I was doing that, I began to see that we needed more content for them. And as I was teaching my children one time, we were talking about dreams, but dreams as a goal, not or aspiration, not, I'm going to sleep and have a dream. And at that age, that 4 or 5-year-old age, they thought of dreams as the literal, I'm going to sleep and have a dream. So I was talking to them about that. And I was like, how can I bridge that gap for them? How can I help them understand what the dream, when I'm talking about a dream as a goal or aspiration, how can I help them understand that? So I said, should I write a song? Should I write a poem? What should I do? And then I just started writing, and it came up with my first book, Corey's Dreams. Took me a long time to publish it because it took me a long time to find the illustrator that I really matched with. Years. I mean, years. Like I wrote that book in 1996, kind of tweaked it. Yeah, kind of tweaked it along the way. And then I didn't meet my illustrator probably until maybe 2014. And then we actually got together, and I was able to publish it in 2016. So that was like a long time coming, and something that was a vision that I actually was able to complete, to see. I was able to see it to its fruition. And I'm still working on actually other books, and I've written other books. It's so where I get stuck sometimes is finding the right match with an illustrator. So I'm working with the same illustrator for it was Corey's Dreams was my first book. So the second book is Corey's Crown, where Corey is a little older. And I wanted to have the same feel, the same look. And so I'm working with Courtney Young, and he is my illustrator. So we're almost finished. So we will be releasing that in 2025. But I have some other stories that I've written. My brother is a wonderful visual artist, and he's actually almost finished the illustrations for one, but I wanted him to hold on that until I finished Corey's Crown. So that was a lot, but that's kind of like where some of the things that I've done, and sort of some of my journey as an artist, as a creative artist.
I think one of the things that I was listening, as I was listening to your story, I was just sort of chuckling to myself about the switch of majors. Because, my story is, I always tell people I wanted to go to art school. And it was my dad that kind of sat us down and said, that's a nice thing. But, and that's just the generation that our parents came from, and that it also was the times. I mean, when you think about it, you did have someone that had an art background, um, a parent that was. But you figure in the 80s, for the most part, nobody was really pushing. I mean, fame was there, but it was sort of kind of viewed as entertainment more than this is a path that we could actually do. At least it felt that way to me, because during the 80s it was like business and science and engineering and law and healthcare. Nobody really talked about going to art school, really, or doing the arts, because at that time they were trying to shuffle us into business and things like that, and education was always that stable kind of thing. So I think that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book too, because there's so many of us that are at midlife that grew up in that era, and with well-meaning parents that wanted to see us succeed. And I think they really did admire our creative abilities, but they were trying to protect us. And I understand that, but it just takes us 25, 30 years to get back to it, but that's all right.
You know what? I held on, because even while
you did, compared to a lot of people I know, including yours truly, I had to abandon that thing until my late 30s is when I started getting into it. And you've been performing. Now the author thing is new, but you've been performing and doing, creative kinds of things for as long as I've known you. And that's at least a good 10, 12 years, even longer than that. I don't know. As we get older, I don't know.
Right. But so even Sharon, in school, when I changed my major, the education department was like, you can't keep taking these classes in the
arts and stuff.
in the theater department. You have to stop. I was still trying to take the classes to the point where it actually was my minor. When I was getting ready to graduate, my advisor said, let's let this be your minor or your concentration. Let this be your concentration.
Concentration.
So
Okay.
you'll get your degree in special education, but your concentration is in the arts, which is, and then I applied it, it just very naturally,
It really worked for you.
I
And
applied it,
doing
with
both.
the children. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not many people were able to do that, but I think it's wonderful to hear that you did and to know that you did. Okay, so you contributed to this chapter, Affirmation 19, which is the create my creative community supports me, and I wanted to read what you wrote. Um, my support includes friends, family, and people who my expression speaks to. How do you find support for your creativity? I have invited people to come out and hear me. If they like it, they come back. I'm one of those people, by the way. I try to reach out to all my circles. It's also beneficial to have a regular gig so that people can hear you. It's good to be open and talk to people and share who you are. I can be shy, which you mentioned, and I find that hard to believe, but anyway. Or at least I don't like to go on and on about myself. I believe I find support best when I connect with folks organically, and then I share who I am as they are sharing who they are. I think it's best to see me, I think it's best to see me perform live. Folks who see me live come back, and they do. And I do. Colie is a very talented vocalist and one of the
Thank you
best,
so
I
much.
think, in the area that we're currently living in. So, what does it mean to you to share who you are with the public when you perform? What does that? How does that feel? What does that look like for you?
So that's everything really. Because I actually have come to see performing as a spiritual experience,
Gotcha.
um, for me. And if it is that for me, then the thing I want to do is transfer that to the audience.
Right.
So um, it's just repeat the question one more time, Sharon, for me.
I was just saying, because you mentioned in your comment that you share who you are with the public when you perform with your audience. And what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I kept on track because I can
Yeah,
go.
yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
but 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 yes. So writing my poetry and connecting that into the songs is one way that I've actually evolved into sharing myself with the audience, and also explaining how I approach the song. So,
Mm,
or explaining how I approach the song. And I'm not always, I talk a lot when I sing. I do. I talk in between and I connect it, telling stories, using the songs to
mhm,
tell stories. So, let's start with one, using the songs to tell stories. So I
mhm.
don't just sing the song. I mean, I can do that, but I really try to, as I'm choosing what I'm going to sing at a performance, I try to see how all these songs connect and how I can tell a story with all these songs and connect with the audience and make it relevant for them and for the times. That's important too, for the times.
Yeah.
Nina Simone has really influenced me in that way a lot. That it's very important for us as artists to be connected to the times, and that tells people about me, right? Because not everybody, that's not going to matter to everybody, And it's for some folks, I just want to sing the song, and I want you to come see me and hear how beautiful I sound, and thank you very much, right? But it isn't just about that. It's about what God gave me, right?
Right.
And how we can all connect and make this a spiritual experience, and how we can all be elevated once we
As a
leave
result.
this place.
Yeah.
So that's
That's how you do that.
yeah.
And having watched you, um, I can definitely attest to that. Coley has a way of really bringing the audience into her performances. So it's not just, Mike, I will sing and I will leave. She does connect, current events, her experiences as part of her performing, which I think really does create that sense of community, because we can connect to what you're talking about. And I think that does, when you leave a performance that Colie is a part of, you feel like you're a part of her community, a part of her world, whether or not you know her personally. I think the other thing, which I don't think we shared on as a question, but I wanted to touch on, you've been a part of a entertainment community, called Liberated Muse.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
that has been, from what I have observed through the years, a great support to you, um, as an artist, beyond just the audience. How has that been helpful to you as a community? And explain what Liberated Muse is and how that works in your
Hmm.
creative life.
So Liberated Muse who it was founded by our the creative director, Khadijah Ali Coleman, Dr. Khadijah Ali Coleman. And she started off with Liberated Muse being an online um
Hmm?
community. Sharon, were you
I
a
was a
part of
part
that
of it.
community? Yeah.
Yes, it
So
was.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it started off being an online community for artists that eventually Khadijah started doing concerts, um, and she had a partner that she worked on with that. So they were doing different things, and then she's a playwright, as well as she actually is the poet laureate of Prince George's County. Let's get shout out to Khadijah, and she started through Liberated Muse producing her plays. So that's how we all began to meet in person and began to perform these plays. So that was my first experience with Liberated Muse. I believe that I was online briefly, and then I went out to an audition. And those of us who are listening who are actors, you know that when you do a play, you do connect with the other performers. And so I connected with a lot of those artists, and it is a woman's collective. And so Khadijah focuses on highlighting um, uh, women, and not just so her plays were about women's issues, and also artists, Black women artists who have used their art as activism.
Hmm.
And so just got really into that, and I started um, becoming or auditioning for more of her plays, and got really into the message in her work. And so we connected through that. And then there were other, um, if she had, if people auditioned, there might be a large cast. But then um, there were four of us, including Khadijah, that really became connected in the understanding of what the work meant to the
Hmm.
community. Um, Again, art as activism. Uh, she focused on the artists who, so for example, Lena Horne, Zora Neale Hurston, um, those are just some of the artists that she highlighted. And so we all connected with that and began to do work around that. And again, she, being the creative director, would write a piece or call us all to come and write a piece together. And then we began performing, and it became the core group of Liberated Muse. There are times that she may um, have auditions and bring other folks in, but we have four core members of Liberated Muse now. So that's what we've moved to be. It's myself, of course, Khadijah Ali Coleman, um, Lynn Artepe, and Angela Ballard.
Mhm.
And we all are artists, we all do have other things that we do as well as liberating music.
Independently
Mm-hmm,
from the
mm-hmm.
group. But one of
Yes.
the things that I've observed, especially through the last, I guess, 5 to 10 years, is how close you all are and how you support one another.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I am on uh, Khadijah's email list, and I just thought it was so sweet that she put in a upcoming event that you're involved with. And I was like, that is really true, support. It's not just about, doing the plays and the performances as a group, but you all really truly support each other. And that's the kind of support that a lot of artists and creators really need, to not only collaborate, but also to support independent projects. So that's something that I felt was really important, and I meant to include in my questions, but
Well, so beyond finding the bond in um, using art as activism, for me, that's what sort of drew me to
to
her
the group,
work.
her work,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
and I
and
and I would say that the same, I think I can speak for Angela and Lynn as well, that drew us in, that we wanted to always be a part of this work. And so then when we got together, our conversations would
the
be
synergy was
just
there.
about all the things that we're writing about and how it connected to the world and current
Right.
events. And so we became friends. We became friends over the years. And again, you're right, we support each other in
Mhm.
our personal lives and in our work, um whether it be art. For example, Angela is a fantastic massage therapist, and so we also support her in her
What
work
she's doing.
as a massage therapist, right? And so I was just using that as an example. So it's
Right.
because we're all doing so many things, we definitely are a support system for one another, and we're sister we are each other's liberated muses, right? We are each other's sisters. We're sisters now. It might have started out as me knowing Khadijah and saying, "Hey, I want to come audition for your play," but then through the work, we actually became, beyond, I would say, friends. I would say we are sisters.
Most definitely, and I can see that from
Mm.
afar. Okay, so people that want to connect with people, want to create a creative community or have a sense of community to support their work. What is your advice? Especially somebody that may be just kind of launching their creative life and still trying to figure it all out, trying to get their creative practice together and then get a sense of support. What would you say? What kind of advice would you give them outside of what you've shared?
So what I would say um, is that I'm going to speak from, let's say, as a solo artist,
Okay.
how I, as a vocalist, because I know that it's hard sometimes as a performer to get folks to come out to see you. And I actually shared this with the audience the last time I performed as a solo artist, because I'm also a part of a group called Deepwater Jazz.
Oh,
And
yes. Yes.
they've become very much, I like to collaborate. I enjoy that. That is very much a part of who I am as an artist. I do like doing my own thing, but I also like collaborating with other artists. So Deepwater Jazz is a group of um, mostly male musicians, and there is one other vocalist who is a male. We did have a woman who plays trumpet, who is extremely talented, Charmaine, and she had to leave us. So what we're once you're in deep water, you're always in deep water. So hopefully she'll be able to come back. But so I work with deep water as well. But when I perform by myself. It is very important. And of course, it isn't by myself because I have musicians
Mhm.
accompanying me. But I, it is very important to me to reach out and connect to all of my circles. And I did say that. And that's been my approach. So as an educator, I have a family at school, right? Which I haven't been, I've been retired now for going on 3 years, but I still have that community, right? I have not left that community. I'm still very much a part of the educator community. And I keep, we still meet, we still talk. And so they know what I do as an artist. And
Mhm.
so I reach out to them and I let them know I'm doing this performance. Would you like to come out and see what I'm doing? And over the years, that community comes to support me. All right. And then I have my community from Syracuse University where I went. We were very close, the Black and Latino um, alum there. We were very, very close. So I reach out to them and I say, I've stayed in contact with them over the years. So it's about building community, not just to use them to come out to see you, but it's about connecting with people. That's what I mean. I just, that's a part I think of my purpose maybe here. And, that's one of the things that I'm supposed to do is connect. And
Yeah,
so, and not just for me to connect, but for me to connect other people
other
as
people. Yeah.
and so, and so I will reach out to my school community. I'll reach out to my Syracuse alum community. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And so I've stayed in contact with my sorors and my line sisters. And so they come out to see me,
Mhm.
and then of course, if there's someone that comes to see me who I don't know, I stay in contact with them. I do my best to stay in contact with them. Let me get your email, let's get on my email list, or let me just get your phone number, and I will text you. And so when I have a performance, I actually sit myself down, and I mean, it's because I'm not this big artist somewhere. I mean, at some point, I wouldn't be able to do that, but I'm still a local, indie artist. And this is the way I actually will send you a personal message. It takes time, but I sit myself down and I say, I'm going to go through my phone list and I'm texting everyone, and they're getting a personal message from me, and I'm inviting you out to my performance. And that's what I do. And I shared this at my last performance, and folks come out. They come, and maybe there'll be a day that I'll have somebody else do that. And I won't have, right? I won't have to do it because I'll have all these folks coming, and I won't have time. Or they'll just see, oh yeah, they'll look me up and say, oh, Colie Aziza is performing here, and I'm going to go out. But right now, that's not the case. And so I take my time and sit down and do it. And folks really do, they show up. And so that's one of the ways that I have built community, by just doing that in the spaces that I'm in. Um, and for me, again, there is a level of shyness, or maybe it's not being shy. It's, I don't like small talk.
Yes.
I don't want to I don't, how people talk about networking. So I don't like to go to these places or be in spaces and just network with people, because for me, there's nothing wrong with networking, but I don't want to just feel like I'm doing this just to get what I can get out of you, right?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
has to be something that is, we both benefit,
Connect.
right?
Yeah. And you
Right.
just go
It
for
has to be
mutual,
right, right, right,
reciprocal kind of
right.
thing.
And yes,
But I
yeah.
think you raised a couple interesting points that maybe people may want to take a look at. Number one, if you're a creative or emerging creative, still connect with the community that you're already a part of. If it's
Mm-hmm.
part of your day job, if it's civic organizations, volunteering, that sort of thing. Don't neglect them as part of your creative community. Of course, not everybody's going to be on board, but you're going to have some people that are really going to be interested in encouraging. And I do the same thing. I have, variety of different community pieces, family, friends
Mm-hmm.
from college, all that I bring in, and there are people that are interested. So don't just focus on, I want to be around artists and I want to be, yes, there is those opportunities, but don't neglect your other parts of your life, because you know who's going to be supportive and who
Mm-hmm.
isn't. I mean, we all kind of know that. But I think what Colie is saying is not only, keep them in the loop, but just do a personal outreach. Hey, this is what I do. You know that I do this. Would love to have you. Now, whether they come or not, that's another level. But people like personal outreach. And I do attest to Colie. She will text me and say, yo, are you going to, I'm doing this. I don't know if you knew about it, but and most of the time, as soon as she hits Facebook with it, I'm already looking at my calendar and already have it penciled in before I even hear from her. But that's because I'm a part of her community, and that's that's how I roll with her. But I like the fact that she does do that. And some of the musicians and people that I know do the same. And I think that, but I think that you don't want to get lost in, oh, I got to be around artists or musicians, or they are a part of your community, but don't forget those that are currently a part of your community, and find a way to include them as your support system, as your fans, as and a lot of times you'll never know what people will do for you. When I first got this book out, there was, matter of fact, one of your sorors out of North Carolina. And I've known her cursory through
Mm-hmm.
the people that helped publish me, which is, she's one of the other authors in that little group. And I mean, that girl went to town. I mean, she was posting it all on Facebook and all this other stuff. And it really moved me, because a lot of times you don't really know who's going to really go to bat for you, in your community. A person that I've been close with for a number of years, I met her on a job when I lived in Atlanta. She's been a champion for me for a book signing I have coming up. I mean, she's connected me with um, all kinds of different people. And those are the people, you don't know. And so you can't discount those folks that are part of your, and that was a job I had, not too long after I had undergrad, when I first moved down to Atlanta. So, you just never know. But I think that it's important to understand that you probably have more of a community than you think you do. It's just about how you utilize them, and how you connect with them, and introduce them to your creative journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Colie, in closing,
Mm-hmm.
how can people find out about you? Where can they find you if they want to follow you on social media, websites, all that?
Okay, so you can find out more about me at colieaziza.com. So I have a website, and you can listen to some of my music there. You can buy my music there. You can find out just what I'm doing currently, where I'll be performing. You can also purchase my book, my children's book, Corey's Dreams, and also Corey's Crown when it comes out. So colieaziza.com is a great place to find out more about me. You can follow me on Instagram at Old Soul New Day. You can find me on Facebook at Colie Aziza, and also Colie Williams. So I don't like to confuse people with that, but and so I'm thinking I'm going to take that down. I'm the artist formerly known as Colie Williams, and I can't. There's this thing on Facebook. I can't change that artist page. It's not allowing me for some reason, and I'm not going to worry about it. It's just if you have to push too much, it's time to just move on. So I may take that down. And who knows how long I'll even be on Facebook, with things, how things are happening. But definitely I love Instagram. So you can find me also New Day on Instagram. You can go to my website first, colieaziza.com. And I am still on Facebook, Colie Aziza. So those are the three places you can find me. I actually have three events coming up. One is on February 16th with Deep Water Jazz at Mid-Atlantic Jazz Festival. We'll be there on February 16th at 2 p.m. And Deep Water Jazz, I didn't really talk about them too much, but they are a lovely group of musicians, a big band, and we do a lot of original music and that the guys have written. And we also take songs that were originally written as instrumentals, and we have a lyricist, Donna Lewis, who is the band leader, Daryl Adams' wife, and she writes lyrics to these songs. And so it makes it really nice. I add some of my poetry, and it is a really nice mix. So we'll be at the Mid-Atlantic Jazz Festival, which is a wonderful jazz festival. And it's local. It's in Bethesda. And well, we changed hotels. So, but you can look it up because I don't want to give you the wrong information because they just changed to a new hotel this year. Now with Liberated Muse, I will be at the Kennedy Center on February 21st and also March 2nd. And so you can look that up as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I just want to thank you so much, Colie, for being a part of the book project, number one,
Oh, you're so
and
welcome.
also for just talking with us today about community and really driving home that importance and how that has helped you through the years and with your current creative projects as a multi-passionate creative. And I just want to thank everyone who has been listening and watching this series. Um, Creative Sparks is my debut book. It's available on Amazon.com as a Kindle as well as a paperback. And you can also order it on my website, and you can get my John Hancock on that, as well as be a part of our my email community. If you are interested in purchasing it there, you can find that at sparkyourcreative.com/book, and you can learn more about it and how to purchase it from my website, as well as learn about all of my creativity coaching services and activities. If you look in the events page, if you are interested in finding out about book signings and things that I'm doing with the book, please feel free to check that out and come on out and see me. And we can talk about the book and have some events coming up this spring that might be near you. So thank you again. If you like the content, feel free to leave a comment, save this particular podcast or any of the podcasts, subscribe if you're on SoundCloud, or if you're on YouTube, add yourself to the subscriber list for YouTube. And we will see you the next time we do another segment for Creative Sparks. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.